Hey folks, Ken Coleman here with you as we wrap up our 7-part series from my best-selling book, From Paycheck to Purpose. In the book, we unveil the 7 stages that will lead anyone from discovery to doing what you were created to do, so that the money you desire and the meaning you desire from your work and in your work can, in fact, be achieved. We'll wrap it up today with a conversation with my mentor, my leader, Hall of Fame broadcaster and icon, Dave Ramsey. Because the 7th stage is to give yourself away. You're no longer working because you need the money. It's not about money. It's all about meaning and legacy and truly giving yourself away through your talent, through your passion, and through your mission. I can't think of anybody who models this more than Dave Ramsey. Here is my conversation with Dave. Dave, I'm so excited to talk to you about stage 7. Give yourself away. And before we dive into what that looks like for you, what it means to be in that position, I want to go back to probably one of the most famous things you say. You say a lot of things that people have known you for over 3 decades, but this idea of living like no one else so that later you can live and give, we'll get to the give part in our conversation, to give like no one else. But I want you to talk about why that is so important for you to share that with your audience, this idea of sacrifice, the hard work of getting out of debt and living like no one else so that later they realize that. How do we attain that in our work as well? How does that play out?
Well, I think anytime someone is going to sacrifice and there's no reason for it, that's just weird.
Yeah.
That's almost psychotic. Why would you go through a bunch of pain if there's no gain from it? But if you know that the shortest distance to winning is through the pain, then bring it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what the giving idea, or the live like no one else so later you can live and give like no one else. There's got to be the backside of that, the live and give, is the carrot.
Yes.
There's a reason to do the hard work to get there. There's a reason to, lose the weight. There's a reason to run the marathon. There has to be some reason to this stuff. There has to be a reasonable hope of winning.
Yeah. And so that leads us to this final stage, give yourself away. And you're at the point where you've gotten the dream job. Now you're at the top of that mountain. You and I both love history. I think of Sir Edmund Hillary. It was said about him when he finally got to the top of Mount Everest, the first one to ever do it. And imagine how difficult that journey. He got to the top, and of course he's probably taking in that whole panorama. And he looks at his climbing partner, the Sherpa, and he says, "That's the next range over there." You're there. You set out to help as many people as possible get financial peace, and in doing so got to the top of your professional mountain as a broadcaster. And yet now you continue to expand the dream, expand the vision for our company. What does it mean to you to give yourself away at this stage in your professional life?
Well, I spend an inordinate amount of my time these days on succession, on what's going to happen when I'm gone. The Ramsey personalities becoming successful and carrying their own brands, because obviously that can survive me. Maxwell says, or he's probably quoting someone else, but our friend John says that where there is no succession, there is no real success. And because the idea of getting to the top of the mountain for yourself is very hedonistic, and it's very hollow. There's no soul to it. You get up there, you're just like, well, now what? I'm empty. Because you did it all for yourself. It was very, selfish in a sense. But if you're getting to the top of the mountain for someone else, for a more noble cause, for something bigger than yourself, then the climb's worth it. But if you're just going to get up there and get a new car, I mean, eat enough lobster, it tastes like soap.
Yeah. So this idea of giving yourself away, for you, you're going, okay, I want this company to not only succeed in succession with you, but also we're still continuing to help millions and millions of people every year. This idea that work that matters, we talk about that internally here. Do work that matters. You don't have to come in anymore, and yet you continue to do so. How do you keep your mind and heart connected on that work in the days where you're going, I'm tired, I've been very successful, the company's doing incredibly right now, and yet you and the leadership continue to cast bigger vision? How do you keep that alive?
Well, what's your goal? I mean, if your goal is enough money, then I quit.
Right.
Then you should quit if you got enough money.
Yeah.
But that wasn't ever my goal.
Right.
The money's just the way we keep score. The building personal wealth is kind of irrelevant almost, other than it gives you the tools to do some very fun things for your family and for others. But if all you're doing it for is for money, then build a big business, sell it, have a liquidity event, and cash it in, and you put your $100 million or whatever right there, and you're done, right? But that's, again, if you want to do that, I'm okay with it, but it's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm called to help people. Yeah. I'm called to teach people. And that started out with me, one-on-one in a coaching session, counseling session, we called it back in those days. And then I got an overhead projector and a bad suit, and I talked to 20 people. And then I got on the radio and I talked to 25 people. That's about how many listeners there were.
That's true.
And and so, but the question was not ever, the only question was how we were going to help people. It was never how can we make more money. We have to make money because we have to stay open. We have 1,000 people, have to make payroll. We have to do the economic side of things, but it's not the driver. It's not the spiritual driver. The spiritual driver is the reward of that single mom who changed her life, the reward of that marriage that got saved, the reward of the guy or gal who gets a new job because they used a simple but very insightful technique from the Ken Coleman Show.
Yeah. Colossians 3:23, paraphrasing, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. Working for the Lord. And then the rest of the verse kind of says basically not unto men. Working for the Lord. There's a spiritual component to work. I know you and I believe that. And when we hear that verse, what does that mean to you when we look at work as unto the Lord? Yeah.
Well, the Jewish word for work and the Jewish word for worship are very similar words.
Yes.
The Hebrew word, so it's workship. And so, I believe, when I'm in church and I'm having praise and worship, that's worship. I believe when I'm sitting on the dock at my lake house and everything's out there and it's just me and God, and I think God lives at my lake house, by the way. But
I'm sure He does.
It's like, man, that's worship. But also when I turn on this microphone, sitting at one of these desks, and I step in front of the camera for a Fox and Friends appearance, or I get on a stage and I'm able to cause someone to take the scriptural steps to change their life, that is a worship as well. Yeah. That is just as much worship as we have on Sunday morning.
Yes. So that's the first component I wanted to talk to you about, and that's that spiritual component, that worshiping our Creator who created us to work. But then you talk a lot about generosity. You talk about it all the time. It's peppered in your social media. You talk to our team, our company's values. We as a company are very generous. And I want you to talk about work as an opportunity to be generous. Not just giving of money, but actually our work is a extension of generosity. Your thoughts on that?
Well, generosity is not an act, it's a character quality.
Yes.
Integrity is not an act, it's a character quality. It's not an action that you take. Someone doesn't do integrity, they have integrity. You don't do generosity, you are generous. Yeah. And so it becomes a part of the culture of the organization if it's a part of the character of the owner. And so the neat thing is integrity and generosity and other character qualities are choices. You can just decide. Yes. I am now a generous person.
Yes.
And by the way, I wasn't always. I was a little, when I was younger, I was self-centered, and I wanted a car, and I wanted a Jaguar, and I thought the easiest way to get it was to hold it all in. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't bring joy. Yes. And what brings joy is giving away. And whether it's giving your influence away, helping someone with your influence, taking a risk, taking a stand against an evil industry that's tearing up people, that's harming people. that's an act of generosity, because you're taking a chance that you could lose some of what you've gained in order to do that. So we do all those things. And the interesting thing is that, giving, whether it's your influence, your money, your time, your love, your compassion, you stop for a second, and I watch you do this on the show, where you dial in on the Ken Coleman Show. That's a gift. You're giving someone something. And there's just so much more joy in that than there is in collecting stuff.
Yes.
Collecting money, having a bigger pile of money. And it's okay, you can do both. And by the way, the bigger pile of money, the more generous you can be. So get you some money, because you're able to do some stuff with it that's pretty cool. Yeah. But this idea that we're, I don't know, part of growing up, I guess, part of maturing is you realize it's not all about you.
It's true.
And the interesting thing is there's a lot more joy.
Yeah.
And people, it's hard to find a generous person who doesn't smile a lot. It's hard to find a very generous person who's depressed.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a generous person who fill in the blank.
For people that are in the earlier stages, I want them to hear from you that I've never asked you this question. Many times I've interviewed you, but I don't know how clear your vision was when you first got started. When you first started just helping people at your dining room table, or kitchen table, and then to the church, and then the hotel ballrooms. I don't know how clear your vision was to what God has done now. Probably wasn't this clear, but I want people to hear that the journey for you was about helping people, and you had that very clear, I know what I'm supposed to do and I know why. Encourage those folks that are early on, they're at the base of the mountain, they're just beginning the climb.
If you think you know how you're going to do it, you're wrong. If you think it's going to be easy, you're wrong.
That's the truth.
You're very wrong. Those are the stupid things that I thought. I thought I could see it. What I did see accurately was the size of the need.
Yes.
The number of people hurting, in this case with money. And now the number of people hurting with their jobs, the number of people hurting with their marriages. I saw this tremendous need. They needed information and inspiration to transform and move away from the things that were damaging that area of their life, and so they could have hope and start to win. And it wasn't like two people, it was everybody. And it was like everybody. Even Ken and Barbie at the church, who everybody thought had it together, when I sat down to do their counseling session, they were broke. And I went, good Lord, Ken and Barbie are broke. No, nobody, everybody's broke. And it's not everybody, but it's most people are not doing well with this subject or that subject of careers. And so I saw the size of the market, and it was mammoth. And so I knew from an entrepreneur's heart that there was a lot of work to do. There was a lot of opportunity to help, a lot of opportunity to build a business. But what I didn't know was what it would look like. It seems kind of dumb when I say it, but I had no idea I was going to need 1,000 people. And all the skills and leadership and pain and betrayal and joy that having 1,000 people would bring. I didn't understand that. I had no clue about that part of it at all. I had no clue how much work it was going to be. I had no clue that along the way that some of my fellow warriors were going to become some of my best friends in the world that walked beside me, or walked beside me for a period of time, and they're still friends, that kind of a thing. All I just saw was this need, and I had this, and like I saw, cancer, and I've got the antidote, I've got the vaccine, and I didn't obviously have that, but I'm saying, but the point is, it was that massive. I mean, can you imagine how enthused you would be if you woke up and you had the cure for cancer this morning? How many people you would tell? And wow, well, how cool would something like that be? But you would see the size of it, but then the distribution models and the media models needed, and the management and leadership that was needed, and the payroll that was needed, and I mean, the internet wasn't invented when I started. There's all this stuff. So I had no idea how much trouble it was going to bring, how hard a work it was going to be, but I saw the size of it.
So sitting here today, it's been incredibly hard. You could tell story after story, hardships with people, hardships just in your own family as you started out early on. What I want you to do is encourage people that they have that clear path. They can get there. We don't know the when, we don't know the how all the time, but we know where we're supposed to go and why we're supposed to do that. And sitting now, today, all that hardship, is it worth it?
There's not another option.
I love that. I agree.
I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Just be mediocre?
Right.
What are you going to do? Just be average?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Just get to the end of your life and go, I wasted that thing?
Right.
You just got one.
Yeah.
And it's just a vapor.
Yeah.
You're just going to be here for a second.
Yeah.
So you ain't got any other option.
Right.
You've got to climb the mountain.
Well, you have to. I think of your story. Think of the millions of people, not just that you personally have been able to talk to, okay, via a podcast. Just, we're talking millions. You heard your voice, but our whole company. If you don't follow the call, Dave, how many millions of people don't get the life-changing message?
Yeah, but from a selfish perspective.
Oh, sure, that too. Yeah.
What would have been my other option?
Yeah.
Just go cut grass? I mean, what would be my option? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done. Or be a slumlord? I don't know. I had a bunch of real estate I lost, so
right.
maybe I could have been a slumlord.
Right.
But I mean, what's your other option? Get to the end of your life and have had no meaning.
Yeah.
Get to the end of your life and have done nothing that mattered because you had something burning inside of you and you set it aside until it finally went out?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not an option.
Yeah, I love it. Final word to encourage people that they're going to read this book. They are reading this book, and they're dealing with fear, doubt, pride, relationships, debt, money issues, and it feels as though, even though they can see a vision for the future, it feels as though it's absolutely impossible. You've been there before. What would you say to that person?
Well, when you get to the end of the deal and you've persevered through all of that, and you've had the career that was your talent and your passion, and you've had the career that Ken has outlined so clearly for you, that's when we would call you successful. So-and-so, you are a successful person. So-and-so is a success. There's a reason we admire people that we call successful. We don't always agree with them 100%. We might not like some of the things they do or the way they talk or the way they walk or whatever, but we admire their success because of their perseverance. Rejoice in your suffering because suffering produces perseverance.
Yeah.
Perseverance, character. Character, hope. And so, yeah, it's going to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would be a success and no one would admire successful people. We admire them because they go through the briar patch, because they get their fingers with dirt under them, fingernails, they're scratching, they're clawing, they're hustle, they're grind, they fall over, they get betrayed, they get lied about, they get up again, they get stolen from, they get up again. And I went and took that class, but it wasn't what I needed, and then I still got to go do another one. Oh crud! If it was easy, everybody would do it, and then we wouldn't admire you when you become successful.
I love it. Well, folks, the reason I wanted to interview Dave for this final stage, Give Yourself Away, is because he models it. Every day, has for a long, long time, and I can tell you he doesn't have to do it, but he has to do it. Doesn't have to do it financially, but he has to do it missionally. So Dave, thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. You really do model the way.
Well, thank you for what you do. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of this material. It's life-changing stuff.
Thank you.